Now, what if you are someone that has the capacity to engage your body and your creative potential and your abundance and maybe even your spiritual capacities to pray or intend for abundance in your life or the lives of the people in your community? There were times when women specifically did things like that and were considered to be holy and sacred as part of the community. But over time, somebody wants to claim that woman's body, and they want to claim what that woman creates, including her children, and then they want to make a name for themselves as a man. And as long as she gives them a son who can pass on the name, and they can claim some other woman in whatever he's setting up, then things work just fine. But that was a while ago. We were supposed to have evolved. And before we even get into these things like homosexuality or pansexuality, there's a very real fact of the matter that women are able to create in a way that men cannot. And there is an entire dimension to male existence that just doesn't exist without the woman's body. That means the woman's uterus. That means the woman's vagina. And that means everything connected to it, which doesn't have to include his penis, right? So, at what point did it become okay for anybody, male or female, of any race, to decide it was okay to engage in processes of forced electronic interference in people's neurological or physiological processes in order to try to compel them to engage in specific kinds of sexual activity in order to waste, deplete, extort, or steal their capacity for abundance and prosperity, and then try to compel them to engage in acts of illicit sex, crimes, in order to financially advantage somebody else. We're not talking about being in nature and responding to the fruiting of a flower, to the sun, to the water. We're talking about somebody programming a specific radio frequency to stimulate certain parts of the brain in a manner that is supposed to excitate the physiology and then is supposed to have a sort of triggered emotional response to compel somebody to engage in sex. And if they do it by themselves, that's one thing. And if they do it with another person, that's another. Who and when was it decided to let that decision be somebody else's? See, my whole problem this whole time is that people have talked about a woman's right to choose as if it is some sort of civil right when it's about something else, right? We have all these people talking about abortion and talking about pregnancy termination and a woman's right to choose to murder her child, specifically for her financial security or her social mobility. Why the hell isn't one damn woman or one damn man bringing cases, doing pickets, if necessary, engaging in self defense that may include the Second Amendment, in order to keep them from trying to program our bodies to respond to electronic cues to engage in sex acts for somebody else's advantage? When I say no, I don't want you sending a radio frequency that stimulates my clitoris when somebody else gets a text message. That's me saying no. Who the fuck had a right to say, your opinion doesn't matter, ma'am? You can deprogram that. You can decommission that and other attendant regimes you have that allow for radio frequency to stimulate parts of people's brains in order to have anything to do with what goes on with their genitals or their endocrine system. But you've been harvesting people's endocrine systems, and you have been attempting to harvest people's sexual bioenergy for a long time. And you were hoping to shut bitches like me up. You were hoping to keep people like me that were conscious of this quiet and off the grid while you raised generations of people to start getting sexually stimulated as young as 10 years old and not ever have anybody around them to tell them that it's wrong, that they have a right to say no. and that if you try to visit that kind of sexual violence against my body, I have a right to respond with lethal force. That was part 3.